What up, you bing bongs? Kirk Wilcox here, and today I want to talk about whether or not America is a socialist country, and I'm going to do so by responding to this video that was put out by Al-Jazeera titled 5 Ways America is Already Socialist. So let's go ahead and roll the tape.
No word strikes more fear into the heart of Fox News anchors.
Yeah, it's just those right-wing nutjobs at Fox News that hate socialism. Forget about all of the people in East Germany that broke down the Berlin Wall in the 1980s, or all the Cubans that attempted to swim across the Caribbean Sea after weighing the options, likely death or more socialism. Nope, it's just those loon bags at Fox News and their propaganda.
No 4 syllables shakes the 1% more to its core than socialism.
Yeah, I don't blame the 1% for being afraid of socialists, considering that Karl Marx specifically targets the 1%, i.e. the bourgeoisie, when he wrote Communist Manifesto.
Socialism is a dirty word in American politics.
Well, in all fairness, socialism should be a dirty word everywhere.
It's lobbed at presidents to try and tear them down, and used by outsiders to set them apart. But what is it? Socialism is a political and economic theory of social organization that advocates the means of production, distribution, and exchange should be owned or regulated by the community as a whole.
And why is this good, by the way? Why is her definition of socialism good? Why is it good to put the means of production and the exchange of goods and resources? Why is it good that all of that stuff be owned and regulated by the community? So let me get this straight. Say you want to be a ballet dancer when you grow up. It's been your dream to go perform in the Nutcracker. Well, under socialism, the community can get together and say, you know what? We have enough ballet dancers in this community. What this community really needs is more fish, because there's a lot of hungry people in this community. So we're going to put you on a boat and you're going to fish for the rest of your life because we don't need any ballet dancers. Or say you're a farmer and your hardworking genius produces 5 tons of corn, whereas the average farmer in the community only produces a half ton of corn. Well, the community can get together and decide, you know what, we're going to take all 5 tons of your corn because there's a lot of hungry people in this community and they need to be fed. Or say you accidentally get pregnant and you decide, you know what, I'm not really ready to raise a family. I'm not really ready to raise a kid. Well, guess what? The community can get together and decide, you know what? Our population's been on decline lately and we need more hands for the future. So we're going to outlaw abortion for the time being, kind of like what they did in communist Romania. Whereas under capitalism, you get to decide what to do with your life. You get to decide what you want to be and what to do with your resources. You want to be a ballet dancer? More power to you. Did your hardworking genius produce 5 tons of corn? Well, guess what? You can go ahead and sell your corn and become wealthy. You can feed it to your livestock and get in the beef industry. You can feed your family. Hell, you can give it away and donate it. Under capitalism, nothing's stopping you from being charitable. Man, being able to decide what to do with your life and your property and the fruits of your labor. What a revolutionary idea!
There are many different types of socialists, but the main idea is that the rich and the powerful don't get to call all the shots when it comes to the economy.
Whoa, that's a lie if I've ever heard one. What, you don't think the rich and the powerful control the economy in socialism? What, you think Stalin wasn't powerful? What, you think Kim Jong-un isn't rich? There's still a powerful and rich class in socialism. It's usually the people that are in charge of the guns and the police and the military. Look at Fidel Castro. The dude died with $1 billion to his name. Even in America, socialist Bernie Sanders, the guy owns 3 houses. If Bernie Sanders really cared about helping out the poor and the less fortunate, then he would sell 2 of his houses and donate all of that money to charity, or set up a trust with it that donates money to charity, which proves that socialists aren't motivated by helping the poor and the less fortunate. They're motivated by punishing the rich and the successful.
But here's the thing that no one will tell you. America is already socialist. Here's why. Americans work like socialists. You know those 2 days a week where your boss can't berate you? What are they called? The Weeknd.
The Weeknd, you're going to lead off with The Weeknd? I figured you would have led off with Social Security or public works projects like roads, but by the way, is The Weeknd even really a socialist invention? I always figured it was a religious invention, considering the fourth commandment. It's the Sabbath. Don't work on Sunday. That's the Lord's Day. But I guess there's not much of a difference between socialism and religion. It's just that socialists replace their faith in God with faith in the government.
The Weeknd was never part of big business's plan. It was fought for and won by the labor movement of the late 19th and early 20th centuries, a labor movement that was full of socialists. In 1938, Congress passed the Fair Labor Standards Act.
Are you honestly implying that FDR invented The Weeknd? If you look at the statistics, between 1870 and 1910, American wages were going up while hours worked were going down, meaning Americans had more money and more leisure time. Americans were going to the circus, they were going to the movies, they were going to baseball games. What, you think Americans were going to watch Babe Ruth hit dingers during their lunch break? No, they were going because they had more time to enjoy and more money to spend. Also, let's not pretend that there aren't still Americans that are highly motivated and hardworking that still choose to work 6 to 7 days a week on the weekends. But also, this idea that FDR invented the weekend is a total load of shit.
It established a 40-hour work week, minimum wage, and eliminated child labor, which is a good thing, unless you run a sweatshop.
Ah, yes, hard labor in sweatshops never happens under socialism.
Some of the most remarkable Americans, maybe even some of your heroes, were socialists. Mark Twain, Ernest Hemingway, Jack London, Cesar Chavez, Helen Keller, even Harry Houdini was a socialist.
What, so America is socialist because a handful of notable Americans were socialist? You realize how dumb this sounds, right? It makes no sense, especially when you consider Mark Twain lived in America at a time when America was closest to laissez-faire capitalism in its history. But I think what she's trying to say here is, see, look at all these great Americans. They're socialists, so see, not all socialists are bad people, so how can socialism be bad? Which is true, but great people can still be flawed and be wrong about a few things. Look at Dr. Ben Carson. By all measures is a great neurosurgeon and seems like a good person, but even Dr. Ben Carson says goofy shit from time to time.
Now America has Bernie Sanders, who calls himself a democratic socialist, and Danny Glover, who's so down. But I'm still waiting on Lethal Weapon 5, the picket line.
More like the bread line, am I right, guys?
It's funny, sometimes American journalists talk about how bad a country is because people are lining up for food. That's a good thing.
Whenever you get on a highway, drive over a bridge, use electricity from a dam, or go to a school or hospital, you're probably partaking in American socialism. To pull the country out of the Great Depression, over 30,000 public works programs were sponsored by the government under Franklin D. Roosevelt's New Deal.
And guess what? The New Deal did not pull America out of the Great Depression. And one thing she conveniently leaves out here is the capitalist's role in all of these public works projects. Like dams, she mentioned dams, like electric dams. The Hoover Dam, that's big government, right? Well, true, but who revolutionized electricity in the first place? Oh, it was capitalists like Thomas Edison and George Westinghouse. Or what about all of these schools and hospitals and bridges she mentioned that were likely built with reinforced steel? Well, steel wouldn't be possible without a capitalist like Andrew Carnegie, who revolutionized the steel industry in America and made steel production more affordable and cheaper. And what about all of these roads, all of these interstate freeways and roads that were built on the taxpayer dime? Well, those roads would not be possible without capitalists like Henry Ford and John D. Rockefeller. Without these capitalists, none of these glorious socialist programs would be possible, and these captains of industry are way more responsible for building the American middle class than politicians and activists like FDR and Cesar Chavez. This all doesn't mention the fact that a lot of black neighborhoods and black communities were destroyed to make room for these highways, and that the minimum wage was originally pushed by racist white labor unions that wanted to price minorities and immigrants out of the labor market. Yeah, socialists today never want to talk about the racist consequences of their glorious policies, but all this is moot, and now I'm starting to sound like a cuck social justice warrior, so let's move on.
Infrastructure that's now crumbling, even with President Obama's 2009 economic stimulus package, which tried to pull us out of the most recent Wall Street-induced financial meltdown.
What do you mean by try? Are you admitting that these socialist infrastructure projects don't pull economies out of depressions and recessions?
But the New Deal wasn't labeled socialism except by its critics. FDR defended it, saying, "The test of our progress is not whether we add more to the abundance of those who have much, it is whether we provide enough for those who have little." The New Deal also included unemployment insurance and Social Security, making sure that you can get back on your feet when you lose your job and you're taken care of when you get old and crotchety. You could call it big government socialism or just looking out for one another.
Well, I call it the government stealing from my paycheck and hoping that I die before I turn 65 so that I don't come back and claim my money.
The military, the one area of spending no one would dare call socialist. And yet, it's largely funded by you, the taxpayer. Strange for all the wars the U.S. has fought trying to stop the spread of socialist ideas, you'd think that war was a capitalist venture. Around 27% of your tax dollar goes to fund the biggest and most expensive military in the world, with a budget of $598.5 billion. Compare that to spending on unemployment, Social Security, education, science, and infrastructure, and it looks like the military is red all over. Good God, y'all.
That's because the military is a proper function of government. Capitalists need a strong army in case they're ever overrun or attacked by socialist scum like Adolf Hitler or Joseph Stalin or Fidel Castro or Mao Zedong. Also, notice how she makes a slight at America's policy of containment during the Cold War, as if containing socialism was a silly strategy.
Strange for all the wars the U.S. has fought trying to stop the spread of socialist ideas, you'd think that war was a capitalist venture.
Given it wasn't perfect and there were a lot of horrific errors, I'm no apologist for the Vietnam War, but it's not like these socialists that America was afraid of were just these peaceful people in peaceful countries that wanted to be left alone. No, these were communist regimes that slaughtered hundreds of millions of people and imposed disgusting living standards on the people that they did not selectively murder. Who would want to contain that sort of civilization? Silly Americans.
Welfare is also one of those things that's bad-mouthed for being socialist, because why take care of the needy? But what about corporate welfare? Since 2000, Uncle Sam has given $68 billion in business grants and tax credits, 2/3 of which has gone to large corporations. Transportation and energy are the biggest beneficiaries. Even some of the biggest corporations like Walmart encourage their employees to use food stamps and other government services because apparently the most profitable corporation in the world can't pay a livable wage. It's almost like socialism is fine if it helps the rich, but terrible if it helps everyone else.
By the way, who is it that usually pushes for corporate welfare? It's usually the progressives that want to pump hundreds of millions of dollars into solar panel subsidies and wind farm subsidies and electric car subsidies in effort to combat climate change. Woo! By the way, who benefits most from solar panel subsidies and electric car subsidies? It's usually rich people because they're the only ones that can afford to buy Teslas and solar panels to put on their fucking roofs. And they're the ones that benefit the most because they end up paying less for electricity and gasoline. But again, it was progressives that wanted to save Detroit by bailing out the failing auto industry in an effort to protect union jobs and blue-collar jobs. It was a Democrat Congress that wanted to bail out the big banks during the financial crisis. It was progressives that passed the Affordable Care Act that subsidizes these big health insurance companies. Now, The so-called free market Republicans are guilty of this too, the way they subsidize sports stadiums. But all this shit is usually sold to the public as it will create jobs and stimulate the economy and benefit the community. So is corporate welfare socialism? Yes, absolutely. Is it a good thing? Hell no!
In the end of the day, socialism is as American as apple pie, bought at a Walmart with food stamps.
In conclusion, is America socialist? No, but it's not capitalist either. It's currently a mixed economy that's been inching towards socialism for about the last 100 years. And what this video is meant to do is it's meant to disarm otherwise moderate people from challenging socialist ideas and socialist policies. It's meant to put people into this sunk cost line of thinking. So if socialist policy is ever proposed, or if socialism is ever proposed and anyone speaks out against it, you can say, oh, well, your grandma's on Social Security and your kids go to public schools and you drive on public roads. What, you think those are bad ideas? Well, obviously you hate your grandma and you hate your kids and you have no business driving around on public roads. See, socialism's great. We might as well go all in and get our free healthcare and our free college tuition while we're at it. And to that I say, eat a dick. This is America, and America was founded on the idea that you as an individual have a right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of your own happiness, also meaning property. Under socialism, the community can decide whenever they want to take away your property and take away your happiness and tell you what to do with your life. And that's why socialism is immoral and evil, and why capitalism is amazing, because under capitalism, it's all about you. You get to be whatever you want. You get to decide what to do with your money and your property. And that's why capitalism is amazing. Anyways, that's all for today. Thanks for watching. My name's Kirk Wilcox, and I'm a douche.